What's up, Nick fans? It's us. We are back. The Return of the Knicks podcast here. The BX Sports Jedi Cat, the Don of the Watch Along, and with my partner, the world renowned Michelin star, number one Chef Dan. What's up, Chef Dan? I haven't spoken to you in a while. Hope you're doing well, buddy.
Oh man, Michelin star. I don't know about that one yet. We'll wait on that one. But
Let
I'm
me
doing well so far. Thank you so much for the introduction, the kind introduction. Oh man, it was a tough ending, but the boys fought, didn't they?
They did fought. They did fought. And I just want to keep it kayfabe, brother. When I say we're at the Michelin star. So just a little wink wink there.
Ah,
Chef Dan, our 2022-23 Knickerbocker season came in end about 9 days ago. I know, guys, we wanted to get Chef Dan on. He's been working his tail off to really get his culinary skills to another level. So that's why we're coming 9 days later. And I guess, and I know maybe, for the naysayers who are rolling their eyes, now they're going to talk about this team 9 days after elimination. That's the reason why, folks. So we're going to give us our pound of flesh here. Let's start off with 2022 when the Knicks came out of training camp. We saw Tom Thibodeau play close to 12 in the rotation, and the Knicks struggled a little bit in that first month coming out from training camp. We were like, oh boy, I know. Me and you, we had the pleasure of doing mostly 80 of 82 games on the watch alongs. Your assessments of at least the first quarter of the season with the Knicks.
um, the first quarter of the season is helter skelter as usual. A lot of teams that they're trying to find out who they are, and the Knicks were trying to as well. Coming off of that last season where there were a lot of complaints, rightfully so, about certain people, whether they were not getting enough playing time or certain people getting too much playing time. It lended it into a I don't know how else to say it. Like Tom Thibodeau decided to leave no child behind. If that's the way to put it. He
That's a good
left
one.
no child behind and said, you get playing time, you get playing time, you get playing time, you get playing time, you all get playing time. And there were a couple of games where, we pulled it in close, could have won those games, but we lost them. There were other games where it was kind of a straight up embarrassment because of him being, a little too kind with minutes in distributing them. But I I said this at the beginning of the season, and I'm glad I'm still consistent with this now. At least I haven't changed my mind at this point. He tried to change. Tom Thibodeau tried to change. And when he found out that the change wasn't working, he decided to go back to Old Faithful. But at least he tried. And I can't knock him for that.
Right, and that pivotal game, I believe it was against the Cavaliers, if I'm not mistaken. He was on the verge of getting fired. That loss there, and my goodness, it felt, you could feel the heat, you could feel the intention coming on Tom Thibodeau with rumblings, and when he made that switch to showing the rotation, 9-man rotation. Of course, we had Cam Reddish. Although with game one against Memphis, Cam Reddish had a hell of a game. We're like, you know what? Maybe this is the breakout season for Cam Reddish under Tom Thibodeau, scoring wise. But it just went back to lack of concentration, lack of defensive ability. Cam Reddish is an enigma. I remember I am a still fan of a Cam Reddish, but I could admit that he was an enigma. Didn't work out, pan out for the Knicks here. So that move when he went to that 9-man rotation for Tom Thibodeau, and the team rewarded and responded because they went in on a 9-game winning streak for Tom Thibodeau in the middle of December, where you're like, wait a minute, hold on a second, this okay. It opened up our eyes, and it took at least the cavalry away from Tom Thibodeau, in my opinion. And especially R.J. Barrett was playing extremely well there. He wasn't playing so well beginning, but that 9-game winning streak to close out the year right before Christmas, they were impressive.
Yeah, they really were. And it was a culmination of them just, getting back to the basics. That's what the team did. They got back to the basics and what they usually are. They were a hard-nosed defensive team. We knew that that was their pedigree the entire way. And when they started, like, leaving teams to sub 100 total points, that's when we knew, like, all right, this team is getting back to its identity and what we knew it could do, which is it. We'll talk about this at a later time as far as like the prognosticators and what they thought the talent level of this team was. But there was a reason why Tom Thibodeau was on the hot seat early in the season. It was because we knew that this team had enough talent to do what it could do. Now, no one's saying that they were, predicting 9-game winning streaks back to back and things of that nature. But to be able to win and effectively win and win with these, with these good moments and playing great defense, playing sound basketball, that was what this team had the capability of doing. And we knew they had the ability to, and part of tapping into that ability was shortening the rotation. And we can't say that this man didn't have a finger on the pulse of this team.
He did have a pulse on this team, but here's the difference that we missed out from last season. Of course, in the Knicks prior to that, they were eliminated by the Atlanta Hawks. They needed a point guard. They needed a wing shooter. Now they tried to adjust it in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. Evan Fournier, despite the Knicks had a bad season, he broke the club record in 3 points made, but the Kemba Walker experiment didn't work. This time around for this season, you saw that as we're going to see later in the future, but currently as we speak there in December with that 9-game winning streak, they had a closer. They were on the verge of starting to develop a closer for this team, and number 11 stepped up big time here in his first, it wasn't even his first 40 games with the team. And you saw the impact on Jalen Brunson, not only on him closing out the team, but taking the heavy load and the distribution of the offense and the responsibilities from one Julius Randle, and allow RJ Barrett to kind of flourish in that third to second tertiary role with the team. And that's why we saw them respond with that 9-game winning streak. And they closed out the year before the Christmas game. I believe they didn't win that Christmas game, but they fought hard. One thing about the Knicks in the first half before the year 2022 ended, they were never blown out of any games. They were extremely close. They were competitive, and they always had that opportunity. Remember, we were doing all the watch-alongs in the beginning. Man, 1 possession, 2 possession games, and they're playing close games that's going to benefit later down the road. And that's what we saw there going into possibly the new year when they did that Texas swing.
You're absolutely right. That Texas swing was pivotal. I believe that was a 3-game losing streak where we lost to no, it was a 2-game losing streak, but we ended it on a win against the Houston Rockets. And that was something that we needed because at the time, like you said, our point guard, Jalen Brunson, was down. And right. Emmanuel Quickley, he's my 6th man of the year. I don't care what other NBA voters voted. He's my 6th man of the year. That man stepped up and gave us a chance in the Texas showdown, and he helped us eke out a win in that Houston game, which ultimately helped us, move on to a stronger season. But you're absolutely right. That Texas showdown, it was the beginning, not because of. It's funny. It wasn't because of anything Jalen Brunson did, because he was essentially out. But while he was out, we saw what we were missing. And sometimes you don't know what you got until it's gone.
Absolutely. Watching that, when you were mentioning what you don't have until gone, it also allow other folks to flourish. Like you said, all right, Brunson is not here. We're missing so and so and so. But if I do my job showing this way, that way, when I'm called upon, I think we got something here we could put together as a nucleus, a gel. And key contributions, quickly stepped up minorly in that West Coast trip and that Texas swing. Also, don't forget the contributions of a Jericho Sims. I know that's an unappreciated young man that we didn't see him later down in the future in the postseason. But man, that kid in that regular season with the minutes he did, he tried to do the best he did, and he was very exciting. And Miles McBride, I think, took a step up from the year prior, playing limited roles, limited minutes. But when he was out there, you could tell he left everything on the floor every night in, night out. And that's the type of hustle that it's appreciated as a fan base from a Miles McBride. He may not be the sharpest knife in the tool shed, but he could sure get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely right. And man, I don't even want to skip ahead. I'll just say this. You're absolutely right. A lot of those guys on the bench that we were so excited about, they weren't all the way consistent throughout the year, but that's why they're bench guys. They're not supposed to be all the way consistent. They did show their moments to step up. Miles McBride, you're absolutely right. He showed moments of stepping up all throughout the season. Jericho Sims is a name. Because he got injured, we couldn't even see him at least an ounce during the postseason, and he had to be shut down for surgery. But all these names, Miles McBride, Jericho Sims, even Quentin Grimes, even though his season got derailed due to injury, he still showed moments. Obi Toppin, name I will never forget coming off the bench. All these guys, like all these moments, it just contributes to the seasoning that's being added to the completed dish that they're gonna become as the years and the months go down the road. So right now, we didn't get the full plate. We didn't get the full taste of what the dish is supposed to be. But let it marinate for a little while. Let it marinate and do what it's supposed to do. And these guys are going to come out also delectable. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned about the injury bug there, because there was a game in Dallas in that Texas swing that was really not just missing Brunson. RJ Barrett goes down with what you could say one of the most nastiest cut to a finger, to where the laceration got to the bone, and I believe that really took a while for Barrett to not just get healed, but to feel 100% in basketball condition with his shot or trusting his hand. And I think that's not an excuse for the season he had. I understand he had a subpar season, but man, when you get cut and you see your bone and you get to see the deep, into the flesh where you can see your bone, there's a little bit of a psychological situation there as well that we never thought about. Man, am I gonna get cut again and see that image? Not everyone is squeamish or have the capability. I remember when the young man in the NCAA tournament, I remember that he made a move, the bones popped out of his skin. That to me, I still remember that. And I wasn't a player. And that kind of traumatizes me. So imagine the player up close and personal seeing that. No one ever thought about that. And of course, it's not here to be an RJ Barrett apologist, but the kid still worked his rear end off and persevere. He played extremely hard, and I got to give him credit. But that injury kind of tried to derail his season. But as we're gonna get to the timeline, he really turned that train around quickly there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that went through, RJ Barrett's season. When you really think about it, it started off not on the right foot at all. He almost wasn't a member of the New York Knicks. Then, you come into the season and, the play is subpar. The fans are on his back. Just got the new contract. They think he's supposed to take that step up, and it's not the step up in the way that they wanted. So now everyone's on his back, and then you get that injury. But then also on top of it, there were also other injuries that happened around the team. Not just, like you said, it's not making an excuse for him, but I think really for the team as a whole, that it was only in few moments that we saw this team play its best form of basketball. And in those moments was when this team was truly healthy. Other than that, you really didn't see it. Like, we saw, if I remember correctly, I'm not making this up, we started off the season, the best three-point shooter on this team was Obi Toppin.
Correct.
Obi's getting a rhythm. He's starting to open up, like the floor is opening up for him. He's now, they're playing the three-point shot so much that Obi's getting comfortable driving to the basket. And we know when Obi drives to the basket, that leads to another dimension for him. And if he started getting comfortable there, who knows what would have happened. But what does happen, he gets injured. He's out for a while. Quentin Grimes, that's a guy that we depended on for a long time, and he was supposed to be part of the starting rotation. Like, remember they had the Knicks even put out a discussion of him versus Fournier, all just so that they could start him. But then what happens? He's injured after training so hard to get the starting spot. So it's like I think even Hartenstein had an injury for a while. Mitchell Robinson, he got injured. We have all these injuries that happen to, either the bench players or a starting unit that just changed the chemistry and the complexion of the team we were getting from night to night. So that's another big thing too that kind of took away from the squad. Not to say that it doesn't happen to every team. Every team goes through injuries. It's just that it seemed that our injuries were at the right moments for us to just, not take that next step that we needed to.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned Hartenstein because the month of December, he really played horribly. He kind of thought I think he had a calf injury or hamstring injury that helped.
I believe it was an Achilles, like a tear. It was a slight tear to the Achilles or something like that he could still play on, but he just needed it to heal.
And then when he healed, that January game on a Tuesday night, I remember it was a Tuesday night against the Cavaliers because I was at the NXT forum when you were on the line. He had that key block in Madison Square Garden that propelled the Knicks to their second 9-game winning streak. That's the start of it. And Hartenstein from there just turned his like a light bulb. He got healed and he got hit. It's like he got hit with a lightning bolt because what he provided for the Knicks on defense and his intangibles and that 9-game winning streak and throughout the remainder of the season was something that it was pleasantly surprised because we were expecting the worst from him. We're like, oh my God, get this guy out of here. Can we move him on from him? The trading deadline's coming up. Can we set him out there for some Papaya King or some Krispy Kreme donuts or something? But he turned it around, Hartenstein, and became a beloved figure in the second half for the Knicks here. Kudos to him. He's only 25 years old. One thing about this team that we see, other than Derrick Rose, Fournier, everyone else is below 27 years old. This is a team that it's not even it's just touching the door of its prime, if you want to say, or below their prime. A few players here and there are sprinkled into that prime location. But seeing them as a team, like you said, the injury bug, Mitchell Robinson, when he was down, it was more opportunity. Like we mentioned, Jericho Sims stepped up. Hartenstein was struggling, but Jericho Sims manned the ship there. They didn't give us exactly what Mitchell Robinson will give us night in, night out. Of course not. But what he gave us was a different type of hustle and a different type of angle that you can scout for when you play a Knicks team. And I love that opportunity, next man up. And that's a detriment to the coach. He had everyone ready, next man up. When your opportunity is called, you make the most of it. And again, as much as we hark on Coach Thibodeau, he had the guys ready from the 9-man rotation where he was on the hot seat.
Yeah, you were right. He got guys ready, and guys started stepping up. And not only that, like for everyone that said he was just a defensive-minded coach before, and we're gonna get into it, but even before we got a certain player here to join us, we were top 10 in both defense and offense. And it wasn't because our defense, slowed down the game so that our offense became top. No. Our offense was top 10 in and of itself.
I believe we finished third or fourth in the NBA in offense per 100 possession.
That's a man that he understood the principles of today's NBA, was able to produce a product like that. So throughout this season, and I know that the playoffs, some people would feel it may have ended on a sour note, but Tibbs, man, you got to give him his proper credit.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure, then. I just wanted to say
No, no,
absolutely.
yeah. I was just saying you have to. You have to. That's it.
I just wanted to say absolutely. That's all because I agree with you, man. Um, and then while this all was happening, Chef Dan, we didn't even notice that. We'll talk about the big guy. One of the most polarizing player on the team was Julius Randle. You know, Julius Randle. We haven't even talked about him because I believe his season we had the good, we had some bad, and we had ugly. You know, I love to say that a lot on my streams. You know that I might sound like a broken record, but I'll always say that there. And but you know, while this was all happening, he was putting up some hell of a numbers here. You know, when he was averaging and didn't feel like he had to take the brunt of the team because right while he's putting up all star numbers, Jalen Brunson alongside him was alleviating those with the high assist games, closing out the games. Whenever the Knicks will go on some, and that was 2 9 game winning streaks, when opponents were coming in, they were not just winning the game by 1 or 2 possessions. They were winning by double-digit leads, and they wouldn't allow teams to cut under the double digits. When teams would go on a run, you knew Brunson was calm, cool, in the words of Dangerous, calm, cool, collective. He'll come in and keep that to a double digit lead, and Knicks would most of these games go away handily with the victory. Um, Randall, I love that combination with Randall and Brunson. You know, you got to give Randall his flowers, his well due flowers. We'll talk about the bad and the ugly with Randall as well. But Randall, again, second team All NBA. He finished off the season, but he's polarizing.
To say the least. To say the least is he's polarizing, and like you said, we're gonna get to the bad and the ugly. And the bad and the ugly, unfortunately, happened for him during the time that we needed him to show up the most, which is during the playoffs. We'll talk about the playoffs, but I mean, as much as there's been bad and there's been ugly, like when Randall was on the floor with Brunson and Brunson had the ball and Randall didn't have to be the initiator, be the guy that's passing it. Dude, there was so much basketball. I can't. There was so much beautiful basketball that I can't lie. And there is some things that I have to I don't even want to say give him a pass, but you have to be empathetic to certain things. But man, oh man, when the game was simplified for Randall, it was just so beautiful. And it's not beautiful in the sense of aesthetic. It's just like there's some games where like you see it and visually it's beautiful. And then there's some games where inside your heart it feels right. And when Randall played free, inside your heart it felt right. Because that's that physical style of basketball that just a lot of people don't want to play, but man, oh man, oh man, he excelled at it. And it was, I still question whether I should have his jersey or not. He was playing that good. I was like, man, I need to get a Randall jersey. And I'm still questioning that because I can't forget that. People may think, oh, that's just regular season, but that's what gets you to the playoff. Do you take the regular season serious enough that you know, like I don't know how else to say it other than, do you eat your vegetables when you're supposed to? If you eat your vegetables when you're supposed to, then the time comes that, you know, when you're healthy enough that you got to move on and do what you got to do and things of that nature. You did it. And Randall ate his vegetables.
All right. Okay. My thought of Randall playing alongside Brunson, he put up some hell of some numbers, all-star numbers. He showed this at times. He could be a 3-level scorer. Also, a two-way player on defense. But things have to go a certain way for him to go that way. It's like and that's a there's some minor red flags with that. I don't want to jump too ahead because when I want to get to more of the before we get to the part where I think it gets ugly for Randall. Um, we'll just hold off on Randall because there's going to be more Randall. It's not a Randall bashing because I think the Knicks need Randall here to move forward for more ways than one. Either they're going to extend, possibly continue going back to the postseason and have a long postseason run, or for other reasons. So I gotta find out more about more. I got more to reserve to say about Julius Randle here. But then we get to the closest to when we get as close to the trading deadline. We know that the one thing about this season that I was a little disappointed, Chef Dan, was us as Knicks fans. We didn't vote our guys into the All Star game. And I know it's an exhibition game, blah blah blah. Maybe it's better they don't go, they rest. But you still want to make a network. You still want to do the networking. You want to make the rubbing the elbows, dotting the i's, crossing the t's with the other superstars in the league. You want to be considered or looked upon as a superstar, hanging out, making those relationships. Hey, how you doing? Those type of things where you go, you know what, I wouldn't mind. I like what you're doing down where you're at, and maybe those type of network. Us at Knicks fans, we let our team, our players down by not voting.
Dude, all the talk we talk about, Knicks fans are, oh, if KD came here and won it and he would have been the greatest and this, that, whatever. It's like we do a lot of lip service, but man, oh man, did we not? We didn't do what we were supposed to. You're absolutely right about that.
That was disappointing. That was extremely disappointing because we should have had Randall and Brunson on that team.
Should have had Randall, should have had Brunson, and Brunson should have at least it should have. We're disappointments as Knicks, like Knicks fans. If you're happy with this season that the players put up an effort, then next year you better put up more of an, like, regardless of the way the season's going, there better be votes, and we better be surpassing freaking Derrick Rose fans to get our PG who's playing 20-something plus minutes. That Derrick Rose is telling you, nah, he's the truth. It's him. He's up next, and that's it. And yeah, like we messed up.
We messed up on that. We didn't send, but one thing that did come out that was a positive was Quentin Grimes in the Rising Star Challenge. Had a hell of a Rising Star Challenge. I love the fact, if it wasn't for Jose Alvarado for Pelicans, take that MVP from him, hitting that game winner. You're looking at Quentin Grimes being the MVP, but it kind of propelled him. I said, you know what? And I remember telling you this when we said look for Grimes to have that confidence that, you know what, I belong against these up and rising stars. I've got this game, and Grimes closed out well the regular season. I thought Grimes played extremely well. You see what he is. He's diverse. Hopefully sometimes when you feature him early in the offense, he gets going. He helps spread the floor for the Knicks. You cannot now clog the paint or trap Julius Randle, especially if Randle gets that ball moving it. And we saw that to close out when they went on a game-winning streak. The way that ball moved fast. And with Randle in the lineup, without Randle in the lineup, that was some fun basketball from that rising star until the end of the season. The way that ball moved, and Quentin Grimes was beneficiary, not only shooting the three, but slashing to the basket. And then when he drew the center, he knew how to get that pass to Mitchell Robinson or Hartenstein or whoever was cutting.
Bro, the ball. Oh my God! I want to commend Quentin Grimes on the step up that he made throughout the season, and it just, what I can say is that I think we were truly robbed of everything he could truly do, and we're possibly going to see more. We're possibly going to see more throughout throughout next season, because remember, he was hurt to start the season. So he can't really give you everything that he wants to. He only just got into the groove around then, that's when you said, like, that's when you notice, like, all right, he's comfortable in the lineup. He's comfortable, as far as like the weight under his feet, he's comfortable with all that. So now's the time that we could start to fully see it. And that's when that ball movement was zipping and moving. And man, like you said, we were robbed of that. But that just goes to show, like, there's two different styles of Knicks play that we can get into, that the Knicks players can get in. There's a slow down type of style that we know the Knicks can do. But then there's that fast pace that get Obi, get RJ, get Quickly, get Grimes, get Hart, get these guys on the floor and let them run. And they'll keep running it all the way home. So, oh my gosh, you just made me reminisce on such a beautiful style of basketball that the Knicks can play, that we know is there for them forevermore. You can't hide that from us now.
Yeah, we saw that they made a move at the trading deadline. They shipped Cam Reddish, and they gave up their 23rd pick of the draft, or their first round pick that turned out to be a 23rd pick of the draft, to acquire Josh Hart, a former Villanova Wildcat, a teammate of Jalen Brunson. Not only that, a guy that wanted to play for New York back in 2 years ago, 2019, 2021, 2020, excuse me, wanted to play for the Knicks, was on and he had the Knicks on his radar. A Maryland kid, relative of Elston Howard, former Yankee player. He knows what it is. He knows how to be endeared and embodied with New York. And boy, what a welcome addition for Hart when he came in. I believe the Knicks were like 7-0 or 7-1, something like that when he arrived on the scene. But again, the Knicks changed their style of basketball. Not for the worse, for the better, due to the fact that they moved the basketball. They were high assist games. The team assists. They're high. The team total assists went up in those games that time. Not only that, they were winning all types of ways. They could run and gun with the second unit. They could play you half court with the starters. They were shooting better from 3-point land. And then slowly but surely, you started seeing RJ Barrett emerging. Maybe a little competition for Hart coming on the team, maybe minutes. But competition sometimes is a little good for us. It also helps you bring your level to excellence. You just bring your level of excellence a little bit higher because oh, wait a minute, there's a little bit of a threat. And I think Hart's addition did that to the Knicks. It brought more heart, figuratively and literally to the team, because you saw that connection with Hartenstein and Hart and they started playing Tom Thibodeau style, not just on defense and the read and react, get the ball, read, react, and go. And that's what that's what Tom Thibodeau will envision on what his team should look like. And for close out the season, it actually propelled the Knicks winning some games that we didn't think we're going to be capable of. A lot of games closing them out with some double-digit fashion, like, whoa, in the bag, no calm, cool, collective. We didn't have to really sweat that much. A lot of people's fingernails were safe for at least, close second half of the season to close out for the Knicks.
Absolutely right. And in regard of like what Hart was bringing, but I don't think it was just competition. When you really look at like what Hart brings, right? If you just were to give it assign words to what Hart brings, there's a tenacity in defense. There's a smartness in the defense and his positioning. But I think the biggest thing was the rebounding. You couldn't take it away because now you had rebounding. Now you had true. It's a weird way to say it, but you truly had 5 players that could essentially rebound from 5 different positions, from all 3 levels of the floor. And what I mean by that is, if you have Mitchell Robinson, anything in the paint, you kind of have to dedicate 2 people as the opponent to Mitchell Robinson. So now that leaves RJ and Randall to go from free throw line extended, or from free throw line into the paint, right? Outside of that is now Emmanuel Quickly, Jalen Brunson, and Josh Hart. And Josh Hart is really grabbing all 3 rebounds from all 3 levels. But it was a combo of Emmanuel Quickly and Josh Hart, because they both knew how to rebound from the free throw line to the 3-point line and beyond. So from then on, it's like, all right, the rebound is secured from all spots. Now you're more likely to give yourself extra possessions, and those extra possessions pay dividends. So that's the biggest benefit, because I noticed that trend happened really, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in the NBA, when a run of centers were being bought by a whole bunch of playoff teams. And the principle was simple. More rebounds, more possessions. More possessions, more points. And they went away from it a little bit last year, and I think the year before. But now you see, I think this year they're going to get back to it. A lot of teams are going to want more people. It's not about putting the ball in the basket, because you're always going to get a chance to do so. But can you give yourself enough chances to make the best play to get the ball in the basket? And that's another thing they're going to look for in rebounding. So Knicks better be careful, because teams are going to want to rebound next year coming up.
Absolutely. They're going to make a conscious effort to take that away there. You know, one thing that the Knicks bought, they bought a player that fit. One thing I want to give kudos to Leon Rose and the front office. They bought a player, they took the temperature. One thing that I may complain about the baseball team was like, oh, you guys don't take a temperature of the team. Oh, you know, especially with the manager. Here, I got to give kudos and I got to give the flowers to the head coach, the front office, for taking the temperature. They got a player that fits their mold, rebounding. Also a high IQ. You know how many times I kept saying this team plays with a high IQ intelligence level, where it starts with Brunson, Hart, quickly. You know, they were playing smart. They weren't playing dumb. They weren't making dumb moves. You know, panicking. They play calm, cool, collective, and it showed. And getting Hart, which helps what the Knicks do, which is getting from the top of the key with the floater between Barrett, Brunson, quickly, and Hart, and with Mitchell Robinson down low. If you miss the floater, he's there for the rebound, for the rebound, offensive rebound, high offensive rebounding team, and a team that could rebound well with Hart, Brunson at time. He's sneaky. Barrett and Randall get the offensive rebounds and put back. That's why they were the fourth or third best offense for 100 possession in the league, for those exact reasons. The Knicks didn't finish 21st or 20th in 3-point shooting efficiency, but they were still third in offense. That tells you that they were and they were high offensive rebounding teams. They had extra possessions and they were breaking the back on teams' defense. Because why? Because they were rebounding the ball, the floater game. You know, you didn't know if you were going to contest the floater or you had to stay down with Mitchell Robinson, because that floater misses, Mitchell Robinson's going to dunk it. Or they're going to throw it up and he's going to dunk it in for an alley-oop. So kudos to them for the front office getting a basketball player that fit their mold, fit their skill set and what they're trying to do. And my God, that fit like a glove. That was like the perfect acquisition that the Knicks has done. And I think in 25 years that I've been watching for a while, that was one of the best acquisitions they brought into this franchise.
Man, funny enough, the only acquisition that I know it competes with is an acquisition that Leon Rose made 2 years ago, which is the acquisition of Derrick Rose. Remember how that flipped the season 2 years ago into the we here season, because Derrick Rose was the ball handling boost we needed off the bench to help give Randall that breather, and also give guys other looks, other ways to get different looks from different places. And it just helped us out. So, like, once again, that's Leon Rose being a very, very competent GM. We lambasted him for 2 years for last year. But I mean, 3 years in the books now, we got two good seasons, and one that, and a season it was bad not because of what happened, but what we thought could have happened.
Right. They try to go for a grand slam. You know, they lost out to the Hawks. They didn't have a point guard play. They needed perimeter shooting. They were one dimensional. I understand it. Was it the right player? Hindsight is 2020. I know you and I both did not like the Fournier signing. Well, I know when he signed, I remember it's here on one of our videos there when we were doing the summer league. When we were doing the first game of the summer league, we were like, ugh. When we heard the news that Fournier signed with the Knicks, it's on video, it's on cassette. We it's on video here on YouTube. We can't hide it. We didn't like it, but you know what? They need a shooter. Okay, it is what it was. Kemba Walker, how many times did we hear from the guy that used to be on here, that used to come on with us from time to time? How much he had us sick and nauseated with the degenerate knees from Kemba Walker. Yes, he was injured. They took a shot. You know what? He rectified it. He did. He got rid of Kemba Walker in the middle of the season last year. We didn't like it because we felt like we wasted a year. But sometimes you got to lose a battle to win a war. And I think I like the fact that this front office rectified it. They kept Brunson in here. You know, Hart now. They got a plan and they got picks. They didn't do nothing foolish. And we'll get to, hopefully it stays that way. But right now I wanted to get to a part that I know we have to cross that road, Chef Dan. It's the ugly. The ugly is this. It's a game in my home city, by the way, in Orlando, Florida. I'm glad I didn't go there. I didn't go to that game. I went to the other one where we had a Julius Randle implosion to the point where I thought he was going to hit Emmanuel quickly. Now I understand Randle doesn't get certain calls down low, down the box. He has an issue with Wendell Carter being a little bit extremely physical, and I get it. If you're working your butt off and you are a nominated All-Star, and you're playing and you see other all-stars, they get tickled or they get looked at and they get called certain fouls, a la Jay Harden and others. And Randall's working and battling and bruising. It gets tiring though, getting hit and whacked and not getting calls. I get that. But him as a professional has to learn how to compose himself, not just with the officiating, but with your own teammates. And it wasn't a good sign when you got your newly acquired Hart trying to be in there, and he was like, "Whoa!" He opened his eyes, like, "What am I just been traded to?" So that was an ugly part for Julius Randle. That was extremely ugly. Him also fighting with the officials. This is not the first time that wants to go at it every time. Hey, I get it, because we also saw later in the season, R.J. Barrett and Obi Toppin got a little bit of a tussle back and forth. Would they squashed that immediately, but it didn't look good there. I like the fact that it didn't leak out. It stood there. You know, there was no lingering, festering animosity. And even though we got 9 days after the season, we haven't heard a peep of it. So water under the bridge, I believe that's when you have a good culture, a good leadership. It died. Because if we would have kept hearing festering, oh, this guy can't stand this guy, we need to move, and we're not hearing that. So the ugly could have been even uglier, but it was still ugly.
You're right. It is ugly, but I mean, it's not but. All right. You're right. It's ugly. And you're absolutely right. Julius Randle does need to find a better way to, to compose himself, especially if, things aren't going your way and you kind of get ticked off at your own teammates, and your teammates, they're there to help you. They're with you. But in the other note, and this is the biggest thing, like you said, it hasn't leaked out to where it's been a problem in the locker room. It hasn't leaked out to where, people are they're like, I just can't work with this guy anymore. It hasn't leaked out to any of that. So at that point, when you're seeing it, it's like, when you really, and it's not to say like these guys are a dynasty, but when you really look and do your research on all great teams in any sport, was it always perfect 100% of the time? No. They always had, like, there was always arguments. There's always going to be arguments, especially in a professional league where even right now, as we go on, like, certain guys got paid, certain guys are up to get paid, certain guys, like, we even saw it with the Warriors. We saw it clear as day with the Warriors, and they didn't return back. You clearly see they did not return back to where they needed to be. But the greatest thing for us in that is that, not to say like it didn't come out meaning it's nothing, but these guys still came out and played well together. And as bad as that was with him and Quickly, we also saw a game where him and Quickly were going, back and forth, laying buckets on the team, and them two were just giggling giddy with each other. Because, like, this is the other thing, too, that I like, we sometimes forget, like, with those two, is like, we also have to afford them an extra level because they're Kentucky boys. not to say like they played for the same coach on the same team or this, that, whatever. It's just that they were brought up a certain way under Calipari. Calipari gets certain players a certain way. So especially when you group together a lot of these college players, you start to see, like, I don't know how else to say it, but like the emotion of the game comes out for them. And I'd rather them be emotional for the game than it just not show it all.
I hear you. I hear you. That's why I said it wasn't uglier, because it was, you know, Barrett Barrett and Obi, at the end of that same game, they were just they were hugging each other. They, you know, had an arm around each other in the locker room. You know what? That's just part of basketball. Get it.
But
we get it.
Here's an even bigger part of that. Like, it's not even at the end of the game. How's about the huddle happened? They had the argument. Immediately outside of the huddle, once they get on the court, RJ comes up and gives him a hug, taps him on the shoulder, like taps him on the chest, comes in close and lets him know, hey, it's all about winning the game. That's what it is, all that. So, like, these guys are close. They can, and that's a sign of a great team, if anything. Like, I'm not saying that I condone the arguments, but if the arguments happen and y'all can immediately get over it, then those are the guys, like, I gotta keep these guys around because that's a good energy team. That's a team that knows each other very well.
Correct. And like I said, it's gonna tell us this offseason if that was something that's gonna linger going forward, going ahead. It's just gonna galvanize them. You know, we've seen it, like you said. We saw Jordan Poole get punched by Draymond Green in the face. You know, and they went into the postseason. They had they rallied because they were almost dead to rights, and they ended up 6th seed going into the postseason. It happens with the teams. Things happen. Everyone argues and fights, but just gotta, with Randall, there's a microscope with him, a magnifying glass. Anything he does with his temperament, it gets exposed, overexposed, and man, everybody's looking for he's that type of person. He does well, they're like, oh yeah, but, and then when he does wrong, everyone's waiting for him to trip. One little stumble, oh, I told you. And man, that's not, I feel bad for Randall at times, as much as, I really do feel bad for him for that reason. He is such under a microflying glass that anything he does, my goodness. And I know he tried to play it right, continue to play well, hustle, and then that one mishap on stepping on Bam Adebayo's foot, he twists his ankle and he goes down, and he was in pain, and everybody had to collect it like, ooh, wait a minute, because regardless of the fact, after seeing him almost pretty much losing his temper with quickly and with the officials and the technical fouls and all that stuff, he's still a big implement part of the team. Nobody wants to see him going down. And we feared the worst when that ankle, and he hobbled off that court that day against Miami. And we thought the worst. And my goodness, everybody had to hold their breath. It wasn't like Kristaps Porzingis when he went down, because you knew Porzingis was done for the year. Randall, you're like, how long? Oh boy.
And that's, and with that, I want to get right into it. We can get right into it because we've talked about the season enough. Now let's get into it. It's real quick. It was only about 12 games overall, the playoffs.
Yes.
And it's two different, like, man.
They had two different postseasons.
I mean, not within this one, but like if you look at Randall's postseasons, right? Because like it's that we have to have this discussion when talking about his postseason. If you're looking at the postseasons and what he can do and what he has done, it's like, okay, the first postseason is like that team was not as good as this team here. We know that. that team that faced the Atlanta Hawks is not as good as this team. And not only that, but we know that that team is not as good because the defense was too easy on that team. You didn't have to do much. And then this year, you come in with a better team, and you're like, the hope is that Randall can, you know, do what he can do. But let's keep it like as bad as he played this year in the postseason, in a time where you need your superstars to shine. Like, let's be objective here. He rolled this ankle a week before the playoffs. He was not going into the playoffs his best. And I know they play a long 82-game season, and I know he played every game, and there was some bumps and bruises that he's not going to tell us about. But there's some bumps and bruises that we know the basketball players have trained their bodies well enough that they can just get through. And then there's some like that rolled ankle, you know it affects his style of play. And it affected it ever since Cleveland. And kudos to Mitchell Robinson, because Mitchell Robinson ended up stepping up when we needed Randall to be there. But Mitchell Robinson ended up being dominant without him having to score all the points that Randall scores, just because by him imposing his force. But then it came to this series, and I know people were mad at Mitch because he didn't defend Bam, you know, well, and things. Bam is a different beast. We gotta give certain guys that's been doing it in the league for a certain amount of time their respect. And Bam Adebayo has been doing it in the league for a while, for a certain amount of time, under the tutelage of a Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. Like the guy, he's done his work. We gotta give him his kudos. So if anything, what we really needed and what really made the difference in all those Miami games throughout the regular season, and what would have made a difference this series, was at least a more healthy Randall. And we weren't privy to that. So now, as much as I want to bash Randall for his play throughout the playoffs, it's like, how much can I, knowing that he came in extremely hampered? It's the same thing with, like, you know, people are saying like, hey, maybe Kevin Durant isn't that dude anymore. It's like, no, the guy came into the playoffs hurt. You're not getting the best of him. So now these games where he's going like below 50%, like if that's not a regular Kevin Durant game, then that lets you know how hurt he was. That doesn't mean he sucks now. That lets you know how hurt he was. And if anything, Randall playing the way he played let me know how hurt he was. So it's not to giving him a pass, but it's like to say, like, every story needs its correct context.
All right. Let me bring in Mr. Darnell Davis into the program. First time here on the show. Let me unmute his mic. What's going on, King?
Hey, how you doing, man? How's everything, man? Everything is great, man.
Doing well. Let me get your thoughts there on this Knicks postseason run here.
But I believe they need a lot of changes, especially on the center parts. I think they need to get a shooting center. We don't have nobody to post up and shoot the ball, really. So we need somebody in the middle like that. As far as we need another shooting guard. I think if we get another shooting guard to help Bronson up, maybe when he penetrates, you can have somebody to pass the ball to, besides just passing the ball all the way around. I mean, they should have somebody shooting the three by now. And we need a three-point specialist. I think we should go find somebody that can shoot the three. That'll help. All right.
Let me ask you though. We kind of jumped a little bit off the rails there with that. I want to know what's your thoughts on Randall. We're right now with Randall's playoff performance here. Chef Dan, as you heard, Chef Dan was saying, well said. He wasn't quite healthy in that series. He had a week before get off, about 9 days before the game one and the series against the Cavaliers. He, didn't play so great. But all in all, your thoughts on Randall's playoff was, do you accabulated to him being injured, or what's your thoughts?
Well, he, he's like a strange player when it comes down to, you got to go down there and make some baskets and thinking down there. But I think with Randolph, he just got to calm down and respect his game. He take his game and he get erotic with it. You know what I mean? So if he could change that, I think he'd be all right. I think we still need him because he's the only threat that we have. If we get rid of Randall, we have no threat in the middle.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna
I
give
don't
you. I'm gonna. Go ahead. Go for it.
I don't think we should get rid of him. I think we got to calm. We got to tame him a little bit, but I don't think we should get rid of him.
All right. I'm gonna give my thoughts here on Randall before I shut down and get some water. My personal opinion when it came to Julius Randle, was he hobbled? Yes, he was. He was
Yeah,
a little injured going into the postseason, but there's other ways of being impactful on the court. Me personally, what I got out of this from not just the We Here season and not just this postseason, Julius Randle is an excellent 82 game player. You could build if you're a team that needs to come up and up, get ready to get going to take your team from out of the lottery to probably mediocrity. He's your guy that will lead the parade. But when it
yeah.
comes now to take it to now to go play the extra 16 games that you need in the regular season, I mean in the postseason to get to where you want to go, I think he falls short. I think he doesn't get you there. I don't think he does enough of the winning basketball plays that he will get you the victory. Um, and even I don't think he's a third scorer on a winning championship team. I
Nah, I
I
mean,
I, I don't think so. If you're ready to go to the NBA Finals, he's not that third option. And at this point with the Knicks here, I don't think Randall wants to be third option. I think Randall sees himself as the number one option, rightfully so. I don't want to take that away from him because when he came here, we were nothing. And Randall took that mantle of being the number one, and look what he has done with the franchise. He has made the franchise relevant. He has made the franchise playoff bound. Um, uh, uh, Now teams look at the Knicks different. Fifth seed, fourth seed in 2 out of the 3 years under Coach Thibodeau and Randall is nothing to sneeze about. I'm giving him his flowers, but I think we might have reached the ceiling when it comes to a Julius Randle led team. And I don't know if it's up to his makeup that is able to play that third fiddle or second fiddle, but I think to anyone going forward.
but he do got 3 years on his contract, though, right? He's got 3 years left, right?
It's a movable contract. Let me first acknowledge the chat. Let's say hello to Mr. Big Task at Hand, Gideon in the building, Mr. Tim Smith, and our Knicks 100 GM in the building. So salute to the chat. We always salute you guys, and we were just getting into compensation, not to break out the flow that we were going in. We just wanted to make sure we weren't ignoring you, but we wanted to make sure that we kept the flow going in the conversation there. Chef Dan, anything else you want to add? What's your thoughts on Randall going forward? I'm giving you the pencil. I'm gonna take it into a wrestling term. The creative pencil here to script out the remainder of the Knicks tenure. I know this is not wrestling. I know this is basketball. What was your thoughts with Julius Randle going forward? What's in your vision? What's the ceiling here with a Julius Randle team?
I it's I still don't know, because the other thing too and as much as like I can't, if you want to, once again, if you want to boil everything down, we can, but I just can't, because everything has its own context. And so for me to say that he's not the third best scorer on the team is like someone saying Kyle Lowry is not a championship pedigree point guard. He wasn't until he was. And that's
Yeah,
what the beautiful thing about the NBA playoffs is once you get into the playoffs, anyone can say that this team isn't ready for it until you see them all the way in the finals. And then someone could still say, man, this team isn't going to win it. And after they've won it, then you will have no choice but to admit it. And and in regards to Randall, it's like this is a team sport once again, so it's not to like be the guy defending him, but in essence, like it is a team sport. We were missing our bench.
Yeah.
The moment Emmanuel quickly goes down, the bench scoring is gone, which is sad. But the minute Emmanuel quickly went down, the bench scoring is gone. And even like when he was around, right, there were sketchy games here and there. The only time where we started to see some life for us was in the other games where he started to either gain his shot or it was by the time he was injured, so it was too late, so we didn't know where he could contribute. And not to say that this series hinged on Emmanuel quickly, but every player contributes something, and sometimes you don't know which player can be pivotal in a series. Like Bruce Brown could be pivotal in a series for a team in certain situations. And he may not be the Finals MVP, but he was important for this series. And that man, it sucks. But Randall, I can't give him that all the way bad rap to say like we should just get rid of him or he's not a playoff contending player, because once again he gets to the threshold. Same thing with we here season. If we remember, we were getting to locking in the seating, and then what happened? I think one of our players gave him a knee to the thigh, and he had a bruise on the knee, which you could see him running gingerly all the way to the postseason. So somehow he plays he plays 82 games, never misses a game until he gets hurt really badly. Then misses a few games, comes back. We know he's bad off of a break, comes into the playoffs off of a break, plays bad games, and then we say he's not a postseason guy.
Okay, I'm going to give you this rebuttal on that one. If we know he had the thigh injury in the We Here season, he had the ankle, which legitimate injuries, then we have to look at his replacement, not getting him enough minutes to be his replacement off the bench, next man up. And I don't know what's going on when the next man up comes in. He played well, but then you yank him immediately. It's so many the Helker, and I agree. Quickly had a bad postseason. I don't care what we say. He was 6th man of the year, but he was bad in the postseason.
He was terrible. Yes.
He only had one good game, was Game 5, the closeout on the Cavaliers. The rest, he stunk.
You're right about that. You're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. And this is where, man,
I think he felt left out of the system.
It's like I don't want to say what I'm about to say because it kind of starts to like then it infringes on property that we can't touch, because that property is what happens next year. We really can't touch what happens next year because it's all in the air. It's all speculative at that point. But like you said, if we're looking at Randall getting hurt this much, but then we also see like the team can now functionally play two different styles of basketball. And one style complements Randall, but the other style complements his replacement. Now is where, all right, if last year we thought it was incumbent on the coach to change more, then this year is even more so incumbent on the coach to change more. Because now you have to be willing to, now I don't care for those Obi Randall minutes anymore, because now I just need to see Obi on the floor without Randall. And those minutes are going to be as important as Randall on the floor without Obi.
I don't play both, man. I understand.
It's not about playing both at this point, because that changes the style of play completely. And you can complement those two, but you can play those two, but the problem is, and one of the biggest problems with this lineup is not Randall's problem, it's Obi Toppin's problem. Obi is not that willing of a rebounder, but he just started getting to shooting the three. Half of the problem is the 3-point not going down enough, but he is willing to shoot it from wherever. So he solved half the problem. The other half now is he has to be a big body rebounder to get into the game and demand boards. And rebounding, Kev, you and I have said it a whole lot. The reason why guys don't get rebound isn't because of talent. It isn't because of positioning. It's a want to. You have to want to get that ball. And a lot of the times, Obi isn't wanting to get that ball. He's wanting to run down the court to get the breakaway dunk.
I think that's where the coach got him running to the corner because he's the only one shoot the three in the corner. Once he gets the ball, they got him running straight to the corner, and that's where he shoots. He posts up for the three ball. And he should be down there getting rebounds and taking shots down there, though.
And that's fine, but now here's where it's like we're gonna ask. We're asking twofold. We're asking one from Tom Thibodeau, but the other has to be from Obi. But here's the biggest ask isn't even from Tom Thibodeau. It's from Obi Toppin. It's like, hey, all the fans want to see you flourish. Do you think Tom Thibodeau doesn't want to see your style of play be on the court? Run these players up and down ragged, have a coach keep expelling their timeout, just like not even to draw up a plan, just to get his players some wind. I'm calling the timeout not even to draw up a play, just to say, timeout, guys, go take a seat and get a breather. Because Obi Toppin's style of play can do that. But the only way that happens and the only way Tom Thibodeau draws up plays for you is you have to be a willing rebounder.
Dan, but in the postseason, he led in the Miami series. He was the leading rebounder at least three of those games. 3 of those 6 games, he was the leading rebounder. And in the limited minutes, he was getting the rebound.
And Randall was on the bench.
Look, that speaks volumes to what we. I don't know how else to see it, but if there is a natural progression in the NBA, then that's where the natural progression happened for Obi Toppin. And that's where we saw the demand for more Obi minutes. It didn't happen during the regular season because regular season, like we've seen NBA vets talk about this in the podcast nowadays. Like they'll tell you the regular season, they just go through the minutia. They go through the malaise of it, and anyone can get a 40-point game regular season because the defenses aren't keyed in like that. But the playoffs, Kev, this is the second playoffs in a row that we've been in, and Obi has made a name for himself.
Exactly. That tells you that he is a 16-game player.
He's a 16-game guy, but here's the issue. Is he 82 games?
Well, we don't know because the minute he makes a mistake, he's getting yanked. And that's the frustration.
One little mistake, he's pulling out. One little mistake.
I mean, there is those moments, but then we've also seen, and this is why we can't say that Tom Thibodeau is just a dummy. We've seen those games where Randall last year, Randall wasn't playing. He got shut down, right? Or earlier in the season where Randall was playing terribly, and it's like, okay, Obi, come in, and we know what you need to do. It's not about putting the bucket in the hole. Just get boards. If you get boards and help the team be physical, then it will go a long way. And Obi has yet to manifest that physicality.
But are you asking him to change what he's not supposed to? Because out of Dayton, that's what he was. You drafted him.
2 rounds, man. He's not here to.
But if you remember Dayton, he played the Randall role.
Correct.
Correct. He was the initiator for Dayton. Obi Toppin was the initiator for Dayton, where all it was triangle system. Dump it to him in the high post and let actions happen around him. If the action don't happen soon enough, Obi, you just dip into the paint. But these guys in the NBA don't have the college boys' bodies. So have you seen Obi Toppin try to back down someone? And it kind of looks sad from time to time. Obi Toppin has had problems backing down guards in the NBA.
So now, go ahead, Mr. Davis. You go ahead.
I feel we still need a outside shooter. That's what when they play the zone, that's killing us. When they play the zone, we don't have nobody in those corners to shoot the three ball. I think that's what
Well,
is killing. And we just need a specialist, at least somebody we can find out there that like KP or somebody. I mean, because if they break when they put the zone on us, we shut down real quickly, and I don't understand why. He's supposed to be a good
well,
defensive coach.
I think,
well,
I
so
think
so
that,
when we do the zone, how could Toppin help us beat that zone? That we're on the Toppin topic here for when the zone comes to Obi Toppin's way. What's your thoughts on Toppin? To take that next level and where we want him to go.
Well, to break the zone, you have to have one man in the middle to go in and out, and that's how you break the zone.
And that's
So
similar what he
never
did in
seen that,
Dayton.
that thing yet.
but I think what takes Top into the next level is literally like getting moves. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like how many drives to the basket has Obi Toppin produced himself where like you see the move and you go, that's just a tough bucket and he made it work.
Right.
Versus he's up in the air and he makes some artistic stuff happen. And it's great that you have the athleticism to do that, but that's not what's gonna consistently. That's not what's old reliable for you. You gotta get an old reliable move that gets you there and then find a counter to that. He doesn't have that right now. So I think what makes Obi Toppin, what makes him beat the zone, what makes because he already has the 3-point shot. I believe
Right.
his 3-point shot is just based off rhythm, and he works on it too consistently for me to not believe in it.
The
What
training is
makes
good.
Obi
Yeah.
Toppin and what gets him to the next level, me personally, and what hopes Obi Toppin gets to that next level is he needs a move that he can execute from a little bit past the free throw line to the basket. That little bit amount of space, he needs to get that going. If he can get that going, I think everything else solves itself. Because what we're looking, I think what we, other than the superstar, other than the superstar, other than the superstar, and I'm gonna repeat that. I think this team has everything we need.
I don't want another superstar. I just need a role model, a role player. That's all we need. Somebody's constantly is going to score when we really need them. 'Cause like I said, we just got Bronson and Randolph and Barrett when he get a chance, but we need more scorers on the team.
I mean, I agree. I think we need a shooter, but damn, we were still again. I hate to sound like a broken record. I don't know if it's because of the offensive rebound putbacks. We were third in the NBA in offense per 100 possession. And we could use the upgrade in 3-point shooting. But here's my thought: the Knicks played the Cavaliers. They were very physical. They were very physical. They imposed their will. When they played a Miami team, a team that Miami made the Knicks change their style of game because the Knicks were gearing towards on a scouting report on those 4 games they played in the regular season. Miami just played different in the postseason because they look like they got players that are ready for 16-game season. Also, now that the reports come out and there's no excuses, a lot of the Knicks team were hurt. Mitchell Robinson had a hip injury from banging inside a bio since game 1. He wasn't himself, and we saw it. Randall wasn't 100%. Brunson now comes out has some injuries, and he gave it all. The only thing that doesn't look good for Randall, Brunson was hurt, and he gave us almost 40 points. Randall, I understand you have to persevere. You have to go above and beyond. Also, I'm gonna give you this again. Miami was 3 minutes away from not even advancing in the play-in. Remember, Chicago had a lead, 3 minutes to go, and Miami went on a run that they're 1 game away from the NBA Finals. They're on a team that is inspired. They're on a roll. Murphy's Law, what could go wrong, or in this case, what could go right, has gone right for Miami. They're under an inspiration on a historical proportion that we have not seen in team sports. There's sometimes Butler's the main guy, the main catalyst. We saw this in our Knicks series. The bench beat us. in one game. Then Butler, the bench. It was different. They alternated different styles that confused the Knicks, confused the coaching staff and the players, and not being healthy. We gave them a battle. We took them to freaking game 6, and we were a couple minutes away to sending it to Madison Square Garden. Or game 7, you never know what the hell happens at that game. And it's not putting in an excuse or being a gullible loser. No, because it still sucked to lose to the Miami Heat, or first and foremost, a team that was supposed to be eliminated. 3 minutes left in that play-in game number 2 of the play-in by the Chicago Bulls had to leave. They couldn't close it out, and look where they're at now. That's why I always say our hashtag: don't limit your teams. No limit Knicks. You don't put limits on your team with your words. Oh, they're not only going to go to the second round. Look at the Miami Heat. That's my example when I say no limits. This team, anything can happen in basketball. Anything can happen. And man, not for nothing, I hate Miami. But to see that story, what they come from, you know what? Good for them.
It's kudos to them, because a lot of these players and it's you know what? It's to respond to this as well.
They could pay for that though.
It's to respond to this. Miami's not going out coveting other teams' players. They're not.
They play the same way, man.
They find their guys in their own backcourt due to their own scouting, the same way the Knicks found all these great players, and you just got to give them time. Emmanuel quickly was hurt. He did not, just when he started to find his form, his ankle rolled up and we didn't have him anymore. Then the guy who, when you came into this season, right? And if you asked any Knicks fan, who was our best defender? I don't know if he played the game 6. Did Quentin Grimes play game 6?
A little bit. A little bit, yeah.
But he was hurt, right? Because he was questionable to go in.
No, he played.
He hit a couple of threes.
No, because remember, he had the shoulder injury and he kept being questionable for every game. They didn't know whether he was going to be in or not.
No, he played 48 minutes.
This is what I'm saying, but he was part of the injury report too. It's not to say these injuries are the reasons why, but they're the younger guys. You got to give them time. And the Heat gave their young players time when they were getting embarrassed in a year after the bubble, after going through the finals. Their young players didn't step up, but they didn't get rid of all of them. They kept them around and gave them another chance to regroup and refine yourself and say, hey, we're more confident in the scouting that we've done and all the practice you've shown us every day in this building, as opposed to that one moment out there. We're more confident that if we get another crack at that moment, like we know we are, because we're that type of organization, you're gonna flourish again. And now they start to flourish again. So that's why I say, a lot of times we're looking for these players outside, this, that. Once again, I think we're just every team wants to find that quote unquote superstar, that guy that can shoot above 50% and can get to a tough bucket from time to time. Maybe we already have our superstar in Brunson and it just takes, some more time for everyone to realize. But aside from that, I think we have our 3-point specialist. He was just hurt this year. I think we have our 6th man off the bench who can be a point guard / everything else. He was just hurt this year. I think we have a bucket getter number 2 who can go and get points and one night can give us 40, but then other nights can settle down and give us 20 and all that. He was just inconsistent off of almost getting traded, and he had a bone come out of his finger this year. All these guys, we have them on the team, but we as Knicks fans don't ever give our own players enough time to develop and grow on our team. And then they grow on another team. And then when they're winning championships in a row that they're perfect for, all of a sudden we're sitting with our team at home going, oh man, why couldn't the Knicks let that happen? How's about we let the guys in the front office do what they're doing? Because we were mad at them for bringing back certain players this year, but look what happened this year.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
just need that. That's all we need. We only missing one piece. That's why. That's all we need. Once we get that missing piece, I believe we be all right because we take care of everything else in the
I mean,
NBA.
no,
I was
okay.
of the same ilk of thinking that we needed a 3 point spacing big in the starting lineup.
Thank you,
I'm gonna find
thank you.
out. Wait. I had that thought, right?
I like
But
KP.
can you find me another center that can do what Mitchell Robinson does for us?
KP.
He's always injured though.
Porzingis is not the big that can get the rebounds that Mitchell Robinson can get. He's not a rebounding machine that Mitchell Robinson get. And not only that, but when you have other bigs universally calling your big the best offensive rebounder in the league, that means when your team puts up a shot, your own center is more than likely to get it back. That's something you can't just throw away to just get more 3-point shooting. Because a lot of these 3-point shooting bigs that we hope to get, i.e., like the best one that was on the market was Hartenstein. And Hartenstein, we didn't need him to shoot a 3 for us at all this season.
Yeah, he play hard defense. Yeah, he play real hard defense. Him, Josh. We picked up good role model players, but like I said, we need a threat outside. We're not gonna win anything. Everybody in the league shoots threes, besides us. We
And
don't
that's,
shoot
All right.
no.
I'm not saying that's fine, but that's part of the building process. Like this year we may not have shot the best threes, but guess what? We were one of the best teams in the mid-range process. That means and that's why we were able to get to the second round of the playoffs. Because as much as the playoffs is about, shooting the threes, a lot of these teams, once it gets to the playoffs, their 3-point percentage is horrible. Can you get me a bucket in the mid-range? And a lot of our guys found out we got 3 guys that can do that.
Now, knowing the way we know what we're shooting and all, and knowing what we have here, you're imposed of running and it sounds like it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad idea of running this team back. But I gotta ask this 2-part question: if we're running this team back, have the Knicks hit the Thibodeau ceiling?
Here's the sad part, right? I had the thought process after the Miami game, right? That yes, we've hit the Tibbs ceiling. But then thinking about it, like Tibbs only had this team that was winning a lot and even moved on to the second round for less than half of a season. I don't know if Tibbs has hit a ceiling because especially when you remember something like Thibodeau imploring, like, hey, I got to make sure that this offseason, RJ Barrett spends time with me. And that's before even going into an offseason where you got eliminated by a Thibodeau product named Jimmy Butler. And who was RJ Barrett supposed to mimic the most?
Butler. He didn't really torch us. To be honest with you, he really wasn't that big. Yes, he was, but he wasn't the greatest impact.
He wasn't the greatest impact. It was the others. And the others that we had were hurt.
Right. We didn't come back the others.
It's like, is it fair for me to ask this question saying like, yo, we've run our course with Tibbs when we didn't get the full gamut of guys? I can't say that.
Okay. Here, what's your thoughts, Darnell, on Thibodeau? You think they reached their ceiling? What you see there?
Well, I believe he got 2 more years on his contract. I believe they're gonna have him for 1 more year and see how he do. And if he don't make the playoff, I think they're gonna get rid of him. I think they're gonna go after Doc Rivers or somebody out there with some defensive play. To reach the players. I think we need a young coach out there that reach those players out there.
Okay.
But if you're saying we need a young coach, then I don't think Doc Rivers is the way to go.
No. Here's what I was thinking. I was compelling this here when I was looking at what when the season ended, when I saw Monty Williams get ceremoniously removed from the Phoenix head coach. Also, then Doc Rivers, which I saw that. I remember sitting there telling my wife when the 76ers was down big, I said, Doc Rivers is getting fired. Because, of course, my wife knows Mr. Coach Rivers. He has met him for many years. We know them. Put it that way, just to make a long story short. I say, oh, Coach Rivers is going to get fired, honey. I'm like, yeah. And then 24 hours later, he got fired. Monty Williams. There's a lot of names out there, and you ask yourself, can they be better than Tom Thibodeau? I'm going to say no right now because Tom Thibodeau, at this current state, knows how to get the best out of this group here, especially when we're, 6 million over the cap. We don't have room to bring in any crime. Of course, anything can happen in the NBA. You can move contracts, you can move picks, you could do anything with the money to make it work. Absolutely. But to sign anyone here to upgrade, right now, Thibodeau is the guy. Now, you keep an eye on Thibodeau. You can't start lackadaisical like we did this season. Despite the fact we finished fifth, if you have that, you can't. I think he's gonna be a little bit on the hot seat, to be honest with you. But I will let that man finish. I would not embarrass Coach Thibodeau because what he brought to this team is respectability. We're actually playing in May. We actually played twice in the last almost 3 years. In the last 25 years, we played in May. Games in May in Madison Square Garden. My goodness, you know what? That says a lot.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at, what's the replacement? Personally, if I'm going to make a move, if I get that player that's ready for a championship, to win a championship, which I don't think they're going to do it. I'm just right now going in fantasy land. If I'm going to bring a head coach to replace Tom Thibodeau, it's Jay Wright. I will go to Jay Wright. You already got Jalen Brunson. You already got Jose. You got Hart. You make some plays. If you bring Jay Wright in here, basketball mind was going to make everybody play high IQ basketball. The proof is in the pudding. You go out there, and here you go.
Definitely.
I agree with that mindset. Though the one name I would say that we keep sleeping on, and I think, just because it's rare that it happens, but I think it should happen more often, is the succession plan. I do think Johnny Bryant, working with all these players, getting, so much time in the league, he does deserve at least a chance to oversee the same roster.
You know what? I can't argue with that. I'm not. I personally want to bring. I'm in a personal. I know you need to get younger, but when you can't waste Brunson's years here. Brunson is here. He's going to give you that high level basketball. You can't waste it with someone who we don't know if he could be a head coach. That's why Yeah, but I know you don't like the college coach. Doesn't mean it works well in the pros. But man, this guy has a winning basketball program. You gotta like what he's doing. He prepares these guys to win basketball games.
And I respect that too. But then this is the other part that you also, he like you said, he is older and he already has that distinguished, career as a college coach. He's already spent all that time. You don't know if he's got that burnout or not.
Nah, he's got a lot of heart.
It's not just it's not to say it's not to say he's just giving up on the sport or whatever, but coaching does take a lot of toll on the body. All that traveling and especially because remember, it's not like he's an NBA coach. He was a college coach, so he was traveling to recruits' house consistently, a lot more on the airplanes than most NBA coaches are. And we always harken back to what Phil Jackson said about, being on the plane for that much time. The human body should not be doing that. So it's not about, whether he mentally can do it. It's whether he can physically do it.
Right. And you know what? And I agree with you there. When Knicks were 100, Monty Williams, he should have won back-to-back Coach of the Year. But just to make because it's kind of sucks. I think it's a knee jerk reaction if you go get Monty Williams, although he'll be a hell of a coach there. But damn, that's not right. You know what? Kama's a bitch, and if you do that to Thibodeau, yeah, it could blow up in your face, man.
No, here's the issue though, right? Like, as great as Monty Williams was, like the reason why Tibbs wasn't robbed was because you had Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. And at the time, we didn't know DeAndre Ayton was, as soft as he was. But you had Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. So that's why versus the roster that Tibbs had, remember, it was a hobble. The roster was pretty much the same that just went to the lottery.
Right. We'll bring in Gideon for 1 second in here. Gideon, please stay on subject. Please, don't jump out of subject. We'll stay on subject real quick. Salute, Gideon.
But yeah,
salute.
And he's not settling for that after he was already a coach of the year. That he's not settling for that. So that's not realistic. But yeah, once again, in regards to Thibodeau, I don't think there's been any burnout. There's been you can't say that the train has run its course with Tibbs. Still got to give him at least until the end of the contract, because 2 out of 3 years we're in the playoffs.
Well, now, and I'm gonna ask this question. Let me first give a thought before I want to ask this question here as well. But let me get Gideon's thought here. Monty Williams, Coach Thibodeau. No, let me ask this first. Thibodeau. The question is: has Thibodeau reached a ceiling with the Knickerbockers? In your opinion, give me your thoughts.
I don't think so. I think we could be better under Tibbs, though. I mean, he did a good defensive job this year. I mean, he was actually flexible in the regular season, using certain guys like McBride, using Josh Hart a lot of minutes, though. There were times he was giving Randall some rest, some Brunson some rest, Barrett some rest here and there, and using Hartenstein more. I don't think we reached our course with Tibbs. I think that if we could just add a few more pieces under Tibbs, and Tibbs could continue to be more flexible, I think we'll become much better.
That's right.
Okay. And since you're a Phoenix Sun fan, what happened in Phoenix there with Monty Williams?
The reason why the Suns fired Monty Williams, one, I felt the players never really respected him and took him seriously anymore, especially DeAndre Ayton. Also, I felt Monty Williams, he's a good coach. He still didn't make the proper adjustments, not using certain guys like Terrence Ross. Edge Wainwright was in and out of the lineup, though. Damian Lee, he could use Damian Lee a little more. And I felt there were times in which he didn't tell Durant and Booker to get other guys involved. And Monty's problem was the hero ball, though. So that's why the Suns kind of fired Monty Williams.
Jigga Man, what's up, man? Salute. Okay, all right. So you're telling me that rotation? Gee, what does that sound like? It sounds like Coach Thibodeau. So every fan base gets upset with their head coach, rotation wise. It sounds like the same type of. At the end of the day, when it comes down to talent, guys got to execute their game plan. If the talent ain't executing their game plan, not making their shots, not passing the ball, not doing their job, it's going to show reflection, and the coach takes the brunt of it. Has the Knicks reached their ceiling with Coach Thibodeau? I don't think so. I think I would love them to see them healthy, but I give you this: going into this new season coming up, the Knicks show that they're more than 9-man deep. They've got talent there. You can't have the guys sit on their asses and getting calluses when they could play. Go ahead, Donnell. What's your thoughts on that one?
They have a lot of talent. I think they have to use those guys that's getting off the bench and use them in those plays they have. Ain't no sense in them training them all season long and they don't just sit on the bench. I believe if they have their playing time like they got their practice, I believe it'll change the game around.
Okay. Now we know I don't want to jump too much ahead of us here because I want to stay on subject that's relevant with us, because we can't go looking for the bird flying by when we have one in our hand. When I'm talking about that, we can't worry about other people's superstars, other people's players. They're not a Knicks player. They're not with us. So the dream of a dream of players that are not on Knicks, we can't talk about them. We're talking about our players that we have currently now here, what we're building on. The Knicks do not have a draft pick this season. Their 23rd pick belongs to Portland. I can see in a way that they could, and me personally, I see they're going to get back into the first round at the end, like around. I think they're going to, personally, I think they're going to go to Los Angeles, trade two second round picks, and help them with that $4 million cap relief to acquire a first round pick. And I believe they'll get back into the late first round for the Knicks here. I think that's the move they're going to do coming up. That's just me. I have a feeling on that. I can see that because I trust Brock Aller, Leon Rose, and in that late round to find players like the Quentin Grimes, the Manuel Quickly, the Jericho Sims. They have an eye for that kind of player that fits the skill set of the Knickerbockers, what they're doing here, what program and what Tom Thibodeau has going forward. I'm really excited with that there because I think they're going to be smart with that. All I ask, don't be dumb. I don't want to see an Andrea Bargnani trade this season.
Good.
That scares me, and I hope they don't do it. I don't think they do it because they're really smart. It starts from the top all the way down. They're building something here. I think it might be a snail's pace, but they got a plan.
What are they doing with Fortnite and Rose this year? They're gonna get rid of them?
Well, here's according to Evan Fournier, he says he's know that he's getting traded. Now, Fournier is not just you can move that contract. But think about it. Think about the team that on the other side is willing to take that. I mean, right now, the Knicks are currently 139 million committed towards 2023 cap. You know, Hart holds a 12.9 million option if he opts in. He could opt out and get an extension. And also, Derrick Rose has a $15.6 million exception, which I don't think the Knicks will bring him back at 15.6. They could bring him for a lower number, but I don't think so. I think they'll extend Miles McBride. Personally, because if you extend him, if you need him to move him down the road for another year or two, you can move him because there's that salary that can match to move forward with that. Fournier, I think Fournier gets moved, but I don't know. But I don't want to grab something bad back. If that's going to be a tough one, man. That's going to be a tough one. Chef Dan, your thoughts there with that Fournier? I know he's going to get moved, but we got to be creative and smart.
I mean, but I trust the front office for doing that. Even during the bad season we had last year, the front office still made smart moves even to recover from the bad free agency signings that helped set up the year we had this year. So they're always thinking forward, even with the penalty of losing a second round pick from the tampering with the Jalen Brunson thing. Like it's like I trust that, even if Fournier thinks, whether Fournier gets moved or not, or he remains here to, play out or stay for the remainder of his contract, I trust the front office. Like we're past that. We're past that with.
Yeah, because Fournier still owe 18, and $19 million left in the next. Actually 2 more seasons. He has 2 more years left at 18 and 19 million. Of course, Randall is at 25 and 27. He's still got 3 years and 29 million. Brunson, actually his contract goes down from 27 to 26 million, and then it drops down to 24. But that man, if he continues to put the numbers, he's going to get a super max. And of course, Mitchell Robinson's money goes down. Next year, he's at 15 million, then 14 and 12. You see, Barrett, here's the one that escalates. Barrett escalates, though, 2 million, 25, 27, and 29. Of course, Hartenstein gets a raise at 8 million. The Reddish is off the board. Toppin goes up $1 million. Toppin, everyone thinks that he might get moved. Both Toppin and Quickly are eligible for extensions. If I'm the Knicks, is there a rule that you have to extend them? You don't have to extend them. You might just lose them for nothing. But I'll try to get him give me a deal, approve a deal.
Wait, approve a deal to who?
Everybody's like, "Well, we gotta extend Emmanuel quickly. We gotta extend Toppin." No, you still got 2 years under him. They're eligible for extension. Doesn't mean you have to run and give them an
You don't need
extension.
to do that. Yeah.
Now you're playing a double sword because if Toppin becomes an All NBA or an All Star, that number's gonna ejaculate up. Where you're like, "Damn, I could have had him for on the cheap." That's a gamble. Let me ask the question: are you willing to gamble on that, Jeff Dan?
Here's the thing, though. You're always gonna be willing to gamble to get the extension sooner now, because the problem is if you think the number goes down next year, it really doesn't. Regardless of the play, the number doesn't go down. The number is always gonna go up because position, like need for position, is always gonna go up, and the CBA number always goes up. The cap always goes up. So the players are always going to demand more money. The number is never going to go down. If anything, like, it's not to say you want to extend both of them this year, but if you can get the extension for one of them, preferably it be quickly this year, to where you have the contract and it's nice numbers where even if he does kick into bonuses, you're like, yeah, it doesn't hurt that much because the bonuses now would amount to what his stature of player would be potentially getting, that plus some.
Okay.
Like
I got you.
Like it's you always want to get the extension done as early as possible. That way the numbers play out in your favor. Even if they think they're getting a huge deal now, like if the cap people around you are extra smart and extra diligent, like we know Brock Aller is, and they do all the language and they know the numbers, if he gets signed this year to that contract, then it's a contract where you're going, okay, we know we got a deal.
Okay. Now the Knicks got two. They have a mid-level exception. That's not Hart's. That's not at the Hart slot. They still have that. They also have a Hart exception there. Some of the names, personally, be honest with you, I would, and I know it might be a little bit redundant of a player, but I wouldn't mind getting Steph Curry. That's the one name that I'm out there, or DiVincenzo. Give me either Steph Curry or DiVincenzo personally, who's going to be free agents, and that's it. I don't need anyone else personally. I could go to battle with the same fellas that are on my group.
I personally want Zion Williams. I think he'll be healthy enough to play for New York.
No, but we don't. We're talking about acquirable assets that we could get. We could get a DiVincenzo with that $12 million mark to come in. But Zion, it's going to be a lot of heavy lifting, big trades there. You got two windows here. Let me remove this one.
Yeah, sorry, my computer froze. My fault.
Okay. But you'll see the list of free agents there. There's not, if the Knicks got nowhere. I mean, maybe a Grant Williams. I don't know if that's going to be 12 million there. I don't know if they could fit it. But he's even smaller. I know. And Knicks 100. You know that I've been harping about size. I want to be taller. But damn, we need some shooting. I don't know if we could fit a Jordan. Yeah, I don't know if we could fit a Jordan Clarkson at 12 million.
Well, Grant Williams this year is making $4 million, and next year Grant Williams have a qualifying offer for $8 million.
He could fit in that 12 million mark, but I don't see Boston. I can see Boston re-signing him.
Yeah.
What about Briggs? What about Briggs from the Nets?
Bridges, I don't think he's going to leave. He's not going to leave the Nets.
He's not a free agent, and that's a max deal. Bridges is going to get a max deal, which we don't have cap space for. Barring the max deal players like the Harden, the Kyrie Irving, the others, we're not getting. We're looking at the mid-tier kind of players if they want to go that route. That's a tough one. Chef Dan,
Bradley Bill, Wiggins.
I'm of the mindset of This sounds unpopular, but running it back the same.
That's nothing wrong with that. I know people like the Jeremy Grant name out there, but
I
that's gonna be a max deal. That's not gonna work.
I don't like. This is the thing. Every piece right now fits perfectly for what Tom Thibodeau does. As much as we want these other players, like the biggest thing is like, even regardless, right? Let's say they give you offensive production, they're not going to be as defensively stout as Tibbs wants them to be. None of these players are, because if they were, they're not going to be the players that you think we can get like that. A lot of these guys, like you see Grant Williams that you said you said him, and you said, I don't think the Celtics are letting him go. And it's not for his offensive prowess. It's because defensively, that is all about want to. That's the first gauge of any player. Defensively, are you locked in? Because if you are locked in defensively, that means you want to play the game. Right. So now, legally, you have a premium number. Right. Knicks don't have that number for that guy. So now, looking around, is any other guy worth that? Seth Curry, he's a great offensive ad. That's another Evan Fournier. Not only that, but if he's on the open market, that means some people are probably having doubts about whether he's going to have the first step in certain things. I'm not saying the shooting's going to go, but if he's going to be as horrible defensively, then there's no point. Like, what's the point in you being able to shoot those threes if you're just going to give it up right back on the other end? The Knicks are not good enough to trade buckets. We got to know what this team is.
Okay. I'm going to give you a name here that I was looking at. I thought about it hard, and I talked to a few people from my city and all that stuff. And I was told if Obi Toppin is moved, which there's a lot of rumors that he might be moved, whatever it is, picks or whatever the case is, you have a chance to bring in Mo Wagner from the Orlando Magic, who is not required. You can still keep Julius Randle, play the 30-plus minutes, who Wagner doesn't mind coming off the bench playing 18, a limited role, but when he's out there, he's 6'9", 6'10", big, tall guy who could stretch the floor, power forward, rebound, defend, and is a shot blocker for that height there, will be a nice piece there if you move off from Obi Toppin to bring in as a backup power forward for Julius Randle. If that works, if you're going to go Randle all in and Toppin doesn't fit this club, and as much as I hate it, because I'm a big Obi Toppin fan, Mo Wagner will be a player to look for. Also, another player I wouldn't mind because he plays Tom Thibodeau's defense. He's a free agent. The Magic's got no say. Money talks. He's got to go, and the Magic are afraid that Mo Wagner might leave, and they're not willing to give him a certain amount of money. What I was told, so he might move for greener pastures for Mo Wagner. Now, another name, Dylan Brooks. I know he had a lot of didn't back up, but he's still a defensive, tough-nosed, hard-nosed player who could shoot the damn three ball, and it's a small forward 3-and-D guy.
And he's athletic too. Yeah.
But I don't know if he's going to be. I don't think the Knicks could afford him.
What about Lonnie Walker?
He's going to, with Coach Thibodeau, he's going to play bench. He's not going to. You're taking away. He's still a young guy, too, by the way. What is he, like 27, 28, Lonnie Walker?
Around that.
Yeah. Very good player, too.
Yeah, so I know. We'll just see what it is. So look, we still got NBA basketball playing right now.
Yeah,
we can't
get 24, by the way.
24?
Yeah.
Wow, he's young. It fits the timeline of the team, but right now, until we don't know what's going to happen in these finals, when teams have coaches in place and those vacancies, when the draft, the combines, who they like. All of this is just speculation, so we're not going to spend too much time on what could be there. I just gave you a wish list of me. If I can fit in a Dylan Brooks and a Wagner, if you move Toppin, if you're not gonna move Toppin, you wanted to get yourself a Dylan Brooks will fit the team. That'd be nice to go forward, but I don't think Dylan Brooks could be afforded on the Knicks salary cap situation. So I'm with Chef Dan, and we're gonna run it back. That'd be good too. That'd be something good as well to try to run it back. But it'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't think this front office is gonna run it back. I think they're gonna try something
They're gonna make
creative.
changes. They're definitely making changes.
They're making something minor. They're gonna do something.
They're not happy with that playoff.
Ooh, I have two guys from New York King Chase. What about Joe Ingles and Jay Crowder?
But Jay Crowder was complaining about. Remember, you saw that he wanted more playing time and he wanted to be a starter in Phoenix. That's what got him out of Phoenix. He's not going to crack the starting rotation with the Knicks, and you know, unless they tell him you want to come off, you're going to have to be a bench piece. I don't think he wants to. I think he's looking to go on a bad team to be a starter.
Good point. Joe Ingles. I know Joe Ingles won't start with the Knicks, but Joe Ingles is a guy that can play and can hit the three. You think Knicks should go after Joe Ingles?
Would it be another? I don't know. Would it be another Fournier?
You can make a case that because he's not a good defender. That's just yeah.
You gotta have the Knicks needs. They want to get if they're gonna get a shooter, there has to be a defender. Remember, they can't be one dimensional, and that's the problem with Steph Curry. Steph Curry becomes one dimensional. He's just a shooter.
Yeah.
And the Knicks can't afford that. They want two-way players who could defend and could shoot the three, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one to you know. It was a tough one. Angles is nice as well. I agree with you, but I don't know with this coach. It's a lot of helter skelter hypotheticals, and we don't know because again,
true.
We don't know any. All in all, any other things before we get going here? With the season, I want to go out this. I'm gonna go throw this question here. Who was the most impactful Knick that we didn't expect it? And really was like, wow, at the end of this, not forget about the postseason. I know it's hard to look at the postseason, and maybe we could at the postseason. That really was like, you know what, he played above and beyond what we expected. I expected this, but I didn't expect this much. Give me a player on this current team that finished the season. I'll start with you, Gideon.
If you're talking about regular season wise, like unexpected, I'm going to say, it's a hard question. For me, Quinn Grimes in the regular season. I didn't expect Grimes to take the next step like he did in the second season with his playmaking, finishing ability, creating a shot at times, playing good defense. So I thought Quinn Grimes was a huge impact for me in the regular season. In the postseason, you can say Isaiah Hartenstein.
Mr. Darnell Davis.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hartenstein. I like how he came to for the backup center. He did a good job, and I believe Josh changed the whole system around when it came. It filled up what Bronson can do, and having them back together, it looked like a key play for the Knicks. I think we need more of that.
All right, Chef Dan.
Julius Randle, because I never really thought, from the We Here season, I remember you and I both said it, like it was great vibes. It was great seeing him get congratulated, but we never really thought that he could ever, be at a all NBA level ever again. We just never thought that his type of play merited it. But then after, Brunson came and became the surprise that he became, you saw that Randall's ability to play off of that freed him into a different type of player, a player that doesn't necessarily need the ball all that long in order to be effective. And the games that he was really effective doing that, he was astonishing. It was a different level, and why he got all NBA again was because he was able to change his style of play and become that different player. And I never thought he could do that, but he did it. And it kind of I don't know, it kind of leaves my mind open to start to question, is there more that he can change? Can he add more to his game that would, make it worthwhile to be like, damn, well, maybe we have been sleeping on this guy, because even though he's had he's had, like, let's say 2 bad years with us, but the years that he's been on, he's been great. He's been really great.
Okay. I'm gonna take. I did not expect this. I knew when they signed him. I remember in the Way Here season when he was on the when he was on his respected club. I said, can we trade him in the off season because the ties with his father and so forth. I thought it was good, but I didn't thought he was this good. He surprised the crap out of me. Was Jalen Brunson? I know he was, but man, I didn't expect what I saw from him. Almost 27 points a game. The way he was a leader, the way he took control of the organization, not just the team, the organization, put them on the map. The most 30-point scorers from a point guard. The way he plays night in, night out, drawing the charges, leading by example, by the way, getting in there, getting charged at his size, getting hit, and still going in there, calm, cool, collective, hitting that the floater when they need a 3-pointer, when they need a bucket, when they need assists. When they need something there, I didn't expect that coming from Jalen Brunson. I expected it was going to be okay. I didn't expect him to be this great. Maybe because after I thought I was going to get a reminiscence of Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose type of combination. Like, oh, he's good, but he's still not one of the elite point guards in the league. But no, this guy showed us that he is not just one of the elite point guards in the league, one of the elite point guards of the Eastern Conference. Just think about it. If James Harden goes to Houston, well, he is the next in line to be the number 1 point guard in the East. Just think about that. Food for thought. Jalen Brunson is him, and I did not expect that whatsoever. I'm pleasantly surprised there. My breakout star is Quentin Grimes. I said it with the All Rising Star Challenge. I said, you know what? He felt that confidence. You know what? Why not me? I could play just as good as these other fools around me. No disrespect. These cats. And he showed it. And I think he's going to take this postseason run that he went through, I think he's going to be hungry. I think he's going to get hungrier, and I think his ability to slash, shoot the 3-ball, Quentin Grimes is going to take a big step next season. That's my watch out, and I think I'm excited for.
I like those picks. I love them. I mean, Jalen Brunson was a dog all year. Not only scoring the ball, but drawing multiple offensive fouls and charges, though. I mean, Jalen Brunson was a beast. 4 multiple 40-point games. I think, 17 30-point games, 4 40-point games. He bait Mitch with 48 with his mid-range shot, the jab step, the finishing ability, playmaking at times. He was strong, too. Jalen Brunson was a warrior. He was a warrior. This is going through the trenches of ankle injuries, hand injuries. And he was a dog in the playoffs, though. He was a junkyard dog. And Quentin Grimes were both, like what they all think great minds think alike. BX, Quentin Grimes was amazing with his ball handling ability, mid-range shot, 3-point shot was butter, flying like an eagle, playing hard-nosed defense, man. I agree. I think Optimus Grimes is going to have a monster season next year.
Indeed. Anybody, let me ask this. I know we said the good stuff. Disappointing player. Who were you really disappointed on this Knicks team this season? Chef Dan, anyone that you want to give that disappointment that wants you to go and get back into that gym?
It's got to be RJ Barrett for me. I know, coming off the contract year. I mean, it seems like all Knicks players do it. Not just, Julius. Julius went through it. It seems RJ goes through it. I mean, Brunson, he was coming from another team, so he didn't necessarily go through it. But a lot of players, once they get that contract, they come in. And he was just a step slow everywhere. Seemed like he may have gotten too big for the season as it started off. And as the season rounded off, he got better and better. But then the inconsistency still showed. RJ showed a different level last year. He showed that he could be defensive-minded and still give us 20 points per game.
True.
So
All right.
I'm looking for that RJ to return.
Agreed.
All right. And anyone for you, Mr. Darnell Davis, that had a disappointing Knicks season?
I thought McBride would have a better season since he was in and out of the D League and stuff. I think he probably learned a couple of things over there. I think he can step his game up and shoot more, and he'll be all right. I believe he got a lot of things in his game he has to change besides being scared out there. Besides that, he's a good player. I think he's gonna change in the next season.
Gideon, anyone disappointing?
I gotta go with Chef Dan. I'm right on the money with Chef Dan. RJ Barrett. I mean, he had his moments in the playoffs, but in the regular season, the dude shot 43% from field, 31% from long range. There were times he lacked aggression to the basket. There were times that he was turning the ball over like crazy. There were times his defense was softer than a Greek yogurt. His three-pointer, everything seemed shoot a free. It looked like a rim just cracked. Mars. His jumper looked bad at times. His defense looked slow at times. His playmaking was abysmal at times. I think RJ Barrett was the most disappointing Knick for me this season. He played better in the playoffs, but even in Game 6, when our season's on the line, 1 for 10, down the stretch, yuck. RJ Barrett's a good player, and I think he'll bounce back next season. I still thought he was the most disappointing Knick for me this season.
All right, my disappointing Knick of the season, and he didn't finish the team was Cam Reddish. I think he was extremely disappointed. I can't believe, when that size, and that's a player that the Knicks could have used size-wise, and if he would have just been consistent with the three ball defensively, and boy, he was extremely disappointing. Egg on my face with Cam Reddish. To me, that was the most disappointing Knick of the team. Of course, led him to be off the team, and man, I don't know if that kid is going to make it in the league, to be honest with you. And he didn't play well in Portland either. And Cam Reddish was extremely disappointed. Quickly had a 6-Man of the Year award though. Knicks 100. Maybe if there's a trade for a player, maybe. But no, I understand what you're going with. But to me, the disappointment was Cam Reddish, not Emmanuel Quickly. That Cam Reddish was extremely disappointing, for my opinion. But all in all, listen, it's nothing doom and gloom. We ended up winning 53 wins, including with the postseason. We finished over 500. We were a 5th seed. The season was extremely fun. I had fun doing the watch-alongs. This team was fun. The 2 9-game winning streaks, the way they moved the ball in March, going to the Orlando Arena, watching them beat the Magic. Personally, it was fun.
Loved it.
It was great. Beating the Denver Nuggets at home, beating the Boston Celtics 3 times.
We swept them.
No. Boston kicked our butt the first meeting, and then New York won the last 3. We were
the Nuggets. We swept the Nuggets, something that we have not done since George W. Bush was president. Win in Denver, then Utah, high altitude.
Yeah, beat Philadelphia. I mean, beating Miami, the Julius Randle, bang, double game-winning 3. I mean, it was amazing. The 9-game winning streak, they said. The 8-game winning streak, though. I mean,
the win in Phoenix was awesome.
Well, of course, going into Phoenix.
No, yes. We got blown out in Phoenix. No, I'm not trying to correct, but we got blown out in Phoenix, though. We beat Phoenix at the Apple. I know what you're trying to say, but I'm just saying, though, beating Brooklyn twice at the Garden, though. It was amazing. The Mitchell Brunson duel, but Brunson got the last laugh.
Not only that, we were what, 2 possession. It was a 2-possession game on Christmas for the 76ers. So that was a close game as well. So we could have easily swept the 76ers in the regular season. I know would have, could have, should have. If my aunt had balls, she'll be my uncle. I know that. But it would have, could have, should have. But this season was fun. This was a season that we have not really enjoyed. The Weir season, we're skeptical. Could it be a fluke? Could it not be a fluke? I thought, man, they were good. But then they went out in a gentleman's sneak. It allowed you to start thinking about doubt. But this one here,
we're on the right track.
Exactly. No one here is over 27 years old. Everyone is young. The core is under 27. They're not even in their peak. They're just getting to possibly their strive, their peak, and they still got their better basketball is ahead of them. That's why I kind of am a little bit on your side, Chef Dan, running the course back because they're only going to get better ascending.
Now we gotta get our coaches younger. That's all we gotta do.
And just think about this. The 76ers are going to have a new head coach in place. We don't know what changes is coming to that organization wise. There's rumblings of James Harden might be going back to the Western Conference. That's one team that might be an obstacle outside of us. Then that might be goodbye. Also, you have a team in Boston. If they do get swept by Miami, could they be blowing that up and making changes? The head coach, there could be doubts. They give him a contract extension, but there might be doubts. There might be some dismantling and making some moves. The window is trying to come towards the Knicks or consistent team that's been together there. You gotta like it. That's why running the team back together, staying the course might be a better option than bringing things in. You could still tweak it. Don't get me wrong. There still could be tweaks, like any fine machinery or anything. You could tweak things to make it run efficient better, and maybe they'll do that. All in all, I'm proud to have called all these games with the Knicks. Talk about these teams. They made me proud. They made me excited. They gave us a good time, highs, a lot of good stuff. And when I look back at the season, I got nothing but good smiles looking at it. Give your final thoughts. We'll wrap it up here. Go ahead, Gideon. You go first. We'll send it over to Mr. Darnell Davis and then Chef Dan.
All right. Okay, thank you, Jedi. One, thank you, Jedi, for inviting me again. Nice to see you again, Chef Dan. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you again, Rain. Hope everything's going with you well. It was nice to see you again. Please subscribe to BX Sports Jedi Network. Brings the meat, the potatoes of each story. It was a amazing season for the Knickerbockers. Orange and blue skies, everybody. Orange and blue skies. This team showed a lot of heart, grit, mental toughness. So this team really showed a lot of will and skill. Tibbs made the proper adjustments. It was a Randall rampage in the regular season. It was a Brunson blitzkrieg in the regular season. RJ Barrett showing some improvement in the playoffs. Optimus Grimes. It was a Grimes grilling this season. Quigley was a Quigley quest. The team showed a lot of promise, a lot of joy. Josh Hart captured my heart, so did Isaiah Hartenstein. This team has a lot of promise, and they're going to be scary for years to come. And do not be surprised in around next year or in 2 years that we're going to be raising that trophy in June. Though we just build the right way. And the front office, gotta get the front office the credit. This team has a lot of promise. And stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy the playoffs, everybody.
All right, Mr. Darnell.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Jedi, and Mr. Dan, for a good season we have. Thank you for helping me out for getting my system hooked up. I'll be further want to see y'all next year. Like to have the iPod. It'd be great to do that. We talk about the Knicks and everything. I believe we're gonna have a good season next year. We just need a couple of changes. We don't need no new players, no superstars, but this role model players. We'll be real good if we can really change the system. I don't want to change the coach, but just change how he's coaching the games and everything, and we'll be all right.
All right, Chef Dan, give us our final thoughts before that, because I want to give homage to one more thing before we get going. Chef Dan, we cannot stop this. Say goodbye without the stream, without acknowledging number 7, Carmelo Anthony, who announced his retirement.
Carmelo Anthony.
We'll do another stream on that. There, we'll talk about Carmelo Anthony, where he ranks. Should his number be pushed in the Raptors? We'll wait for that. We'll do a podcast on that. We'll invite you guys, more than welcome, guys, to come back on, and we'll have that discussion. Should Carmelo Anthony be on there? Big task. If you want to get on that too, you're more than welcome to join us as well, or even Knicks 100 GM. But Chef Dan, close us out so we can say goodnight and watch some Monday Night Raw.
All right. Final thoughts is, from a fan's perspective, watching this team for as long as I have been, this is what I would call the perfect season. It isn't the season where you won the championship, but it's not a tanking season either. It's a season of progression. Season where your team moved forward in so many areas. And even though you fell short of the ultimate goal, at the end you knew you weren't supposed to get there, but you wanted to see your team fight and scrap in those positions, and they did. For what it's worth, man, it wasn't a gentleman's sweep going against Miami. So far in the Eastern Conference, we've been the second best team because we gave Miami their best fight. That's something to be proud of. So far, there's so many things that as a fan, you can hang your hat on and be proud of and be like, man, no matter what, even though this season ended in heartache because we didn't raise a trophy, there's so many things that I can remember and be proud of and be positive about this season moving forward. Mm-hmm. And to the players, this is the perfect season also as a fan because you know they have so much to be proud of, but they also have so much to be hungry for. As much as you earned certain things in the league and as much as you've earned certain things amongst your own contemporaries, you didn't get the ultimate accolades that you probably feel you deserve. So now is that time, even though you were good, they still told you weren't good enough. So here it comes. Do you take that now's the time that this team takes the identity of Jalen Brunson? Every time they said something like, oh, he's good, but oh, he can make a shot, but oh, he can play defense, but. And then it's like you keep doing that, but now you keep striking off those reasons. And now you keep taking away and you work harder. Now we know this team, you have no reason to relax on your morals. You only have reasons to work harder. So if anyone comes in disappointing this year, and we weeded out the weak. And that's what happened with this team.
Yep.
Well said. Guys, have a good night. May the Knicks be with you. We'll be back to do Carmelo Anthony. Keep that notification. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
Hey.